Hey, what's up, my people? Welcome to the Red Light Special Live. I'm your host, Yaminah Legohn. Wait. Let me grab some wine. All right, y'all. It's a new day. It's a new week. It's been hot. Y'all know I'm up in California, IA. What's good to my West Coast people? What's good to my East Coast people? What it do? I have a special guest today. I'm so excited for y'all to meet her. Her name is Stacy Letrice, aka Jukeboxx. She will be in here chatting with your girl. But before we get into that, I want to talk with y'all first. Now, one thing I've been bumping, y'all, is that WAP. That new Cardi B with that Megan Thee Stallion, that WAP, that stands for wet ass pussy. There's been so much controversial over this song, and I'm really surprised about how many people are really tripping off of this song. And, I'm an 80s baby, and I grew up with the Lil' Kims and the Charlie Baltimore and the Trinas and the Gangsta Boos and the Foxy Browns and all of that. Like, I just feel like this is just the new age. These are the youngins. This is their Little Kim moment. So why not? There's so many men that talk about, getting the poo tang and degrading women. Why can't women talk about being sexual? I don't see what the problem is that. But here at the Red Light Special, we are here to love, to show love, to empower, to educate y'all and to talk about sex and relationship tips. At the same time, keep it sexy, sensual, and classy. But yeah, that WAP, somebody said this, and I thought this was pretty interesting. Anybody that's getting upset about the WAP, that means you ain't got no WAP, okay? That means it's dry down there, and you need to get it together so you can have that WAP, right? Because if you got that WAP, what you gonna do? You gonna sing that song, and you gonna put your arms in the air, and you gonna say, hell yeah. I mean, who here got the WAP? Ladies, who here got the WAP? I mean, the WAP is what keep them coming, right? The WAP is what makes your man satisfied or your lady satisfied. Who wants some dry ass poom poom? Nobody, unless you get that lube. But anyways, I just thought that it was important for me to say, since this is Red Light Special Live, I wanted to, big up Cardi B and big up Megan Thee Stallion for coming out with that hot track. And the video was super dope. Ain't nothing wrong with some dope dancing. They had the dope dancers. Shout out to all the dancers. Shout out to my agency, Go To Talent, because some of the artists from Go To Talent was in that video. I do think that maybe they should have let the song rock for a little bit longer before they put out the video, because I feel that some people liked the song more after they saw the video, and I would have liked to hear the song like play on the radio for a little bit and then release the video. But that was the marketing plan. I'm not on the marketing team, but just from a business marketing and professional entertainer myself, next time I think when you put out a song, let it play a little, let people talk about it some more, then boom, hit them with the video. But we are living in a pandemic, and so people got to do what they got to do. You know what I'm saying? You got to do what you got to do. And I'm going to do what I got to do. Oh, so I want to make a quick little announcement, y'all. You can also catch me doing my talk show with Young Boss Media, Make Lemonade. You can catch me on Tuesdays, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'll be up there with some dynamic women talking about some stuff. We have a panel coming up in September 19th, and so I'll be hosting the erotic business. So I'll mention this some more on the next show, so you guys can make sure that you can go and look at the conference. On top of that, I'm helping some of y'all with your business, okay? Because a lot of y'all are trying to be entrepreneurs and don't even know what to do and where to start. So that's why I got a workshop coming up called How to Hustle Smart, y'all. Helping y'all learn how to create multiple streams of income because everybody cannot depend on the government for money. You see that the Congress is still in recession, like before they got rid of the 600, and then next thing I know, they went on their recess, and they came back, didn't figure it out. Then Trump called an executive order, and then they said that he didn't have any right to do all that. Child, you cannot be dependent on this. You already see how the government is treating us. And in New York, Broadway, they're closed down to 2021. So what's going to happen to all of those artists? Like, all of those artists are without money, a job. So that's why I have a workshop coming up called How to Hustle Smart. I'm collaborating with New Women's Space. It's going to be on September 10th, so look out for that. I'll be putting that information out for you, okay? Even though I like to talk all that sexy talk, we still got to get down to business, okay? Because the business is what pays the bills. Now, I like to dress up, put on my red lipstick, got my fan. But you think this child is sitting around here just patting my fan? No, I'm out here hustling, which is what all of y'all should be doing. Okay, so let's move on because as I told y'all, I have a special guest today. Her name is Stacy Letrice, aka Jukeboxx. She is the founder of Jukeboxx Dance LLC. She is from Chicago. And who is she? Stacy Letrice is a medicine woman of movement and dancer who uses African and Caribbean dance forms as healing tools to follow her happiness and pursue her dreams. Founder of Jukeboxx Dance LLC, she's a dance movement therapist, and her credits includes Cardi B, Busy Signal, Tiwa Savage, PSquare, Stonebwoy, Shawta, Wale, and Les Twins, and that don't end there. Child been around, child. That's why I bring the best of the best up on the show, the creme de la creme. Who I look like bringing people here who don't know nothing, okay? I gotta bring the real people, okay? The real people, okay? But before I bring her on, let me get my wine. Okay, y'all. So without further ado, let's introduce our girl, Stacy Letrice, aka Jukeboxx.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Hey, girl.
Hey, how you doing?
I am well. Thank you so much for asking.
Oh, that's good, girl. What's the weather been like over there in Chi-Town?
It's been really hot. Today was in the 90s. So it's hot, humid, it's sticky, but I'm not complaining at all because, we in Chicago, once it's cold, it's a whole nother level. So we don't complain when we get good weather.
Right. And how has it been since it's hot and it's the pandemic? Are people out in the streets over there? Are people in each other's face? Are people wearing masks? What's the deal with the COVID over there in Chi-Town?
To be honest, people are doing their own thing. And I think it's just because after those first 2 or 3 months of the pandemic, I don't think people could tolerate being in the house anymore. Even just for their own mental sanity, I think people needed to get out. They needed to be connecting with others. And even though we don't have any summer events, people are doing little side hangouts or doing little parties here and there, and then keeping the numbers small. So people are making it work. They're adjusting to what's happening at this time.
Okay, I see. And in California, people were not taking the pandemic seriously. And they wear their mask, but when they get to each other's house, they take it off. And that's how the numbers got up in California. And I was like, y'all stay away from me because I'm a germaphobe and I ain't got no time for that.
For the most part, when I'm out, everyone has a mask. I can say for the most part, I see everyone following the rules, but I'm sure when people are in the comfort of their own home or behind closed doors, that's a different story, but that's cool.
Right. I hear that. So, Miss Jukeboxx, I want to start with this. Like, about the Red Light Special, because Red Light Special, Night of Urban Burlesque is the show, and you were one of the performers on the show, which she did an awesome job, y'all. The sexy dance hall queen, and she's not just a dance hall queen; like she do everything, y'all. Just everything, you know what I mean? And not just dance and not just shaking her booty. You know, she got technique and all of that. So, what I want to ask you, where does the name Jukeboxx come from?
So Jukeboxx was actually given to me in high school by two of my friends in homeroom, mainly because no matter what type of music came on, I would just dance to it. And one of my homies was like, girl, you like a jukebox. You dance to anything and everything. And I was like, that's cute. I like that. And so once I decided to create my brand, I just went back to that because it just felt like home. It felt familiar. And I like to think of myself as an artist who's kind of got like an old school feel. I like to keep tradition. I like to keep that old school vibe, but bring it into the contemporary times, which you can see that the jukeboxes are still around, but they look a little different, but they still got that old school flair to it.
Right. And that's very true. I know when I saw that name, I thought that, I was thinking swing dance. I'm like, okay, jukebox, let's take it back to the hot club. Let's go back. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Like you could be from that era, girl. I feel like we from a whole nother era.
I love that time period. I love the fashion of that time period. I love everything about that. So I definitely could see myself back there, even though I wasn't really born in.
Right. Like when you think about those times, it's like you also got to think about the segregation and the racism and what Black people were going through that time. So it's like, even though when I look at that, I'm like, oh, I would have loved to dance at that time. Then I think about, dang, how would I have been? Because I got a mouthpiece on me. So
I feel like you would have been an activist, some type of activist. Yes.
You thought I would have been up in somebody's face. I would have been doing the sit-ins. I probably would have been throwing some bricks. I don't know. I probably would have been doing all of that. I always say, if you're a conscious person, you're forever enraged when you know the system. You cannot just be like chill when you see that all this injustice is going around. That makes no sense. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Definitely. So, Jukeboxx. So what inspired you to push your art, your talent, and then turn it into a business?
Oh, so I'm just going to be 100% honest. This is a question that I actually, before this year, I was never really completely transparent about it. But growing up, I suffered from depression and anxiety very severely. And I had discovered dance around the age of 8. And for me, it was my healing tool from that point on. It was the way that I can get away from the depression and anxiety. It always made me feel good. I always felt happy. And I would say in the last 5-6 years, I decided that this is something that I wanted to share from my perspective, because, you know, African dance and dance hall and Afro beats and all this stuff was already around. But for me, I believe that there was a healing element to it that wasn't necessarily being spoken to. And I wanted to use my brand to showcase how all these dance forms are not just movement, you know, they're a way of life, and they do have healing properties to them. And so that's what started the business, and that's what helped me create my brand and move forward in that way.
Okay, dope. So I know you focus on traditional West African dance, traditional, y'all, and you do dance hall and Afro beats. Where did the connection with dance hall come? When did you become really involved in dance hall?
Well, to be honest, I was always immersed in Caribbean culture since I was a little girl. So even just my father, my parents are divorced. When I was a little girl, I would come to his house on the weekends, and my dad would be blasting all types of music every Saturday morning when he was up cleaning. And dance hall was one of his favorite music, especially in the 90s, where like Beanie Man and, you know, that was a good time of like the 90s. Yeah. So I didn't necessarily know what it was called, but I know, like, I remember waking up Saturday mornings, like, I love the sound of the music. And so he was always playing it. So I had always heard it. And then one of my first teachers was from Barbados. So he kept me around soca and calypso and all those different forms of music. So I had always been hearing it. I just didn't know that like people were actually turning it into a career in terms of dance. I just kind of thought it was just a party style and, you know, music that I love. So for me, as I got older, even though I was doing traditional, as I started to really travel and study dance hall, going to Jamaica, going to other conferences, I started to see the relationship between traditional West African and dance hall by going to Jamaican folk dances.
Mm.
So after training in Jamaican folk, I'm like, oh, so these folk dances are rooted in traditional West African movement. And then you have dance hall, which comes out of Jamaican folk dance. So it's all connected. So the more I started to really intensely study and do my research, this is where I start to see the connection between the foundation, which is traditional, and then see how it had expanded to now where we are today.
Got you. Well, that's pretty awesome. And in your background, your people are African American, right?
Yes. Yes. Which everyone's always surprised. Which I'm always like, why are you surprised? You know, as an African American, I feel like, you know, we should know our culture outside of just the US because we're still connected throughout the diaspora. But people seem to be very surprised when African Americans are conscious and know things outside of African American culture per se. But the Black diaspora, no matter where we are in the world, we're all connected. We're just on, you know, different island. That's about it.
Right. Because we were West Africa. They took us from West Africa and brought us over to Brazil because they had the Portuguese and they took them to the islands. Then they brought them to the US. So we were all taken from the same tribes, mixed us up together. So we're definitely connected to Jamaicans. We're definitely connected to Africans. We're definitely connected. And I get surprised when people say that. It's ignorance to me. It's ignorance. And I feel like I run into more ignorant people than I do conscious people. And I feel like people who do understand the connection don't really say much because they don't want to deal with the fuckery. You know what I mean? But I just be like, okay, y'all.
And you know, all that is also related to slavery, being stripped of our identity, being stripped of information of who we are. So everybody doesn't have that understanding, that connection. So I also just, you know, forgive them for they not know what they're talking about.
Patience in me, girl, because I don't have no patience. We got Salim Kadan. Oh, I'm sorry if I said that wrong. Baba Hens is the best. Stacy is an excellent teacher and she fuses the genres beautifully. Oh yes.
Thank you. And Baba Hines is my first instructor. That's who she was referring to from Barbados. Excellent.
Okay. Well, you know, hey, salute to that because, you know, we need all the support that we can get from our conscious people. You know, we need the support. So with that being said, what kind of challenges have you faced as a Black woman in the entertainment business? Because I know you do stage and I know that you travel and I know you also do film. So you're pretty versatile. You know what I mean? So dealing with the challenges as being an African American who does dances from the African diaspora and have to deal with the ignorance as a woman, as a Black woman, I know there's so many other things that you have to deal with or have dealt with in the business. And so would you like to share? Well, please share with us some things that have been a challenge.
Well, I can say in terms of dealing with African Americans and working in those settings, I've been blessed enough that there hasn't been too many challenges in that area. But I would say when there's times when I'm entering atmospheres where I am one of a few African Americans and I'm a part of a bigger project that are dealing with my friends that are African. That is a lot of times when I face my challenges because there's questions about, am I African enough? Do I know enough of the culture to fit in and represent it correctly? And so those have been the most challenging opportunities that I've had because I kind of found myself feeling like maybe I didn't belong there because I'm not from Nigeria or I'm not from Ghana or I'm not from, you know, whatever other continent that I might be representing at that time. And feeling like I had to work twice as hard to prove that I can be there and do the styles of dance that I do. Or even feeling like there's times when people ask me, am I Jamaican? Or, you know, am I Ghanaian? And I would say no. And it's almost like they will feel some type of disappointment that I wasn't from those places. And I never understood that. But that has been my biggest challenge. Or even just some people, when I went to New York, I remember I was putting on one of my first classes there for this year. And, you know, someone kind of like called me out and was saying that I pretty much wasn't qualified to be teaching Afro beats. And I felt very like offended and really hurt by that. Especially how it was done. And I was like, look, if there's something that you have to say, let's have a conversation about it in an educated and polite way, but not in a disrespectful. And it felt like, a little bit of hate, a little shade, whatever.
It is.
Yeah.
It's 100% hate.
Yeah.
What I say about that, you know what I mean? When people do, like Black people from other parts of the world, when they're doing jazz, when they're doing hip hop, even though hip hop was created by Blacks and Latinos, but the Black Americans and the Caribbeans and the Latin Americans, like Afro Latinos, were part of this creation of hip hop. But hip hop was definitely inspired, even though I've said this multiple times, with Kool G Herc being the godfather of hip hop. He was playing James Brown. He was playing the breakbeat he was using James Brown. And I say James Brown, Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, those people help inspire hip hop, because hip hop was a reflection of what was going on here in the United States. And so I feel as American, when we see other Black people, we don't know if they're American or not. We don't question them. Are you American? If they're doing jazz, are you American? Or they're singing blues or they're mixing R&B, we don't be like, are you American? No, we see a Black person, and if you're dope, you're dope. You know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like when we do other styles, when it's outside of the US, it's like we're not allowed to do that. And I was talking to my homegirl, Jess Batty. She was on the show last week, and I said, when people ask me that, or they make an assumption that I know, my first question is, have you taken my blood test? Do you know what tribe is in my bloodline?
Right.
How fair are you to question me when you don't even know my background? You hear African American and you automatically assume I don't know my shit. So, but you come over here and then you crump dancing, and crump dancing will start in LA. You know what I'm saying? Or you're trying to do all this other technique, or you're going to Alvin Ailey and all of this. Hello, we have put blood, sweat, and tears in order for all Black people from the diaspora to come here and benefit from it.
Yes.
And I was a little disappointed with some of the reactions I heard from Black is King. You know what I mean? With Beyonce, and she hired, people from the continent. And not only that, like, she really gave people opportunities, to work and get paid. I'm not saying that he is the best person, but I just feel that she's always put some kind of African, Caribbean something in her music since back in the day. It's not like it's brand new. You know what I'm saying? And Africa is a continent, and she done been around Africa. And I also know that, sometimes from what I hear when they say, like, how come she's not coming to my country, or why come she can't come over here? I hear that, sometimes there's restrictions when traveling around Africa too for some artists. So that's why certain artists can't go to certain countries. So I feel that there needs to be a little bit more compassion instead of jumping to hate. You know what I mean? And
dialogue, like let's have a conversation about it. Like, why do you think that I'm not qualified? Or if you think that I'm not doing it correctly, take the opportunity to use that as a teaching moment and be like, hey, I see that you're learning and embracing the style and embracing the culture. Like, let's link up, let's share, let's talk about the history of these dances. Let's, instead of it being like, no, you should not do that, or you're not qualified to teach that, because, as you said before, as African Americans, we never do that to anyone, and everyone takes our culture. I don't care what color. I don't care what color it is, but we have never say, no, you can't do hip hop. No, you can't do rhythm and blues. No, you can't, wear fashion that African American, like, we don't do that. So let's use it as an opportunity to connect and really come together instead of bashing and creating more separation amongst each other.
And even with Fela Kuti, because I was in Fela before, I knew about high life before, Afrobeats was this whole thing, you know what I mean? And with Fela, you even hear it in his music that it has jazz influence.
Yeah, he was inspired by James Brown, an African American man who has yes. And that is never brought up in conversation about the African American influence onto Afrobeat music. Like that doesn't come up in conversation. But we have to acknowledge that. Yes, that's what it is.
I was telling in my last show, even with Bogo with Dance Hall, he was in New York for a while when he was in hiding. And I know DJs that know him, and they were like, yo, he was kicking it with the DJs in the Bronx, and he was kicking it with break dancers and this and that. And it's like, come on, can we get our credit? I just, you know what? When people are ignorant, you have more patience. I don't have the patience to sit down and have the conversation, because once somebody comes to me in an ignorant, disrespectful way, I'm high of a level to stoop down to that person's level. So somebody can go and educate your ass, and then once you're ready, you can come talk to the Empress. But the Empress ain't dealing with bottom feeders. That's what I call it. Ignorant people are bottom feeders. Sorry. Just like making if you eat my ass, bottom feeder.
Oh my. And I used to be the same way, but I'm now looking at people like me, you. I always say Cara Janelle, that's another one of my African friends based in LA who does Afro beats in the industry. I feel like we can be representations to show other people that, like, hey, Black people do more than twerk and hip hop. And, so I feel like we can be kind of open up the conversation, open up the dialogue, and realize, like, okay, yeah, we got some sense. We're conscious. We're aware. We know our culture. We want to be connected to the diaspora. We want to be connected to everyone that represents the diaspora. So I've kind of taken on that role instead of being like, okay, I don't feel like going there today, even though I really do feel that inside. I just have to take a different approach to it.
You can see me on a conference and I'll talk, and then you see me talk about it. But once somebody is disrespectful, I don't got time. If somebody be like, I just want to understand, then I'll take the time. But when they come at me with that, you ain't this, child, close the door, no time. I've dealt with too much disrespect. I ain't got the time or the patience. And so I salute you for having the patience for them fuckery people.
Somebody got to do it.
Somebody got to do it. And then once they, get their feelings together and they cut and they respectfully, then I will have a conversation, because otherwise I'm going to smack you in your mother in face. That's just me. Okay, I'm from I ain't got no time for that shit.
Let them know, sis.
Know. So since we're talking about that, well, we already went into this. So, well, you already said it. So, let's go back to this. With African Americans, Caribbean, and African artists collaborating, how do you feel that we can do better as a collective so we can be strong as a whole?
Well, first, I think we just also need to have conversations about each other's experiences, first of all, because I also realize when I'm around my African friends that some of the things they say, that they're not always where it can be offensive. Like, I've heard some of my Nigerian friends say, I don't understand why Black people are struggling, why they can't come over here and be successful. You have all the resources, you have all of this, and we come over to the country and we're like, we're doing good, we're doing well. And I think that's because there's a lack of understanding of what the African American experience is in this country, how we have been discriminated against, institutional racism, the long years of just trauma, PTSD. Like, we don't talk about that, but that is what people of color in the U.S. are dealing with. And so there's not a level playing field. It's not just easy to just, come and be successful. And not saying that we can't, but there's a lot of things that are working against us that are preventing, not preventing, but are causing challenges. That's what I'll say. I want to say preventing. So I think I realized that comes from my African friends not really understanding the African American experience, and vice versa. And the same thing with the Caribbean experience. So even though there's a similar struggle, the experience is different. And I think there has to be one understanding of that first. And then two, how do we use our resources to elevate everybody? So I've even noticed, I think sometimes, it's just competition amongst the Caribbean and the Africans and the African Americans. Like, why? Why are we competing against each other? Let's use our resources, because everybody has something to offer. Everybody has something. to uplift us. So let's use our resources, even in the music industry, to elevate us as a whole, and to break down some of those barriers that we're facing from, those outside of us.
Right.
And I think more collaborations, because there's been some, and I think they happen here and there, but they don't happen enough for me. They don't happen consistently enough. So I think more collaboration, more sharing of music. I would love to see more African American artists do more Caribbean music, do more collaborations, and vice versa. So yeah, I think it just needs to be more collaboration and more working together to build our own empire. That's just how.
Yeah, I agree. And Akon, I liked Akon. I used to really like Akon, and I respected him for what he's doing in Senegal, but he just went on Vlad TV last week and was talking so nasty about African Americans, about how, why, we need to just leave the US and come to Africa, and why we want to be here, and why should we be like, but why are you coming over here, boo? You was over here making money. Like, y'all coming over here because you see Hollywood and all this shit on the media. Like, we can't just pack up our bags and leave the US and just go to Africa. Like, where? Africa, over 50 countries. Where we gonna go where we feel accepted and where we feel we don't have to deal with the bullshit. And for the people who feel like, oh, I come over here and I'm doing better, anytime you leave a place that you were born and you start new somewhere else, you're going to do better because you already have a goal. You're trying to strive forward. So when you're in the Caribbean, or if you're in Senegal and you move to America with the goal to be famous, that's what your mindset is. You're coming over here with the goal to become that. African Americans here are still, a lot of them are still not a lot. I mean, there's more money now. I feel there's more Black Americans who are about their money, about their business. You see women entrepreneurs are the top in the U.S.
Black women is winning. We winning, boo.
That's something, you know what I'm saying? And if it wasn't for the women, a lot of Black people from other places would not been able to come over here and be successful. And in my opinion, I feel a lot of times Africans can sometimes be worse than white people, unfortunately.
Ooh.
As far as, being prejudiced and all of that kind of shit and how they treat us. I have some. Now, I love my Africans. Don't get it twisted. Anybody's watching and think I don't love my Africans. I got plenty of African friends. You know what I mean? I've been around the culture all my life. So when I say this, it's coming from experience, and it's coming from, I'm tired of the bullshit. Get it together. We in 2020. You take our shit. We take your shit. We work together. We all take from each other. So let's keep it fair.
That goes both ways too, because I know I have African American friends who look down on Africans, so it goes both ways. We have to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Everybody
gotta check ourselves.
Yeah, everybody takes from each other. Everybody's influenced by each other. Everybody has been negative towards each other. You know what I mean? So I think that, there's African Americans who are ignorant and don't even know about outside of America and need to, step up and do what they need to do. I also know that some African Americans have a negative mindset towards other people because the way they've been treated when they come over here. So it's like, you got to look at the whole entire spectrum, because if we went over there to the Caribbean, went over to the Jamaica and did how they did us, when they come over here, it would be a whole ball game. And then the media, we need to stop blaming us, the media, because the media was telling them that we was nothing but bitches and hoes, and they was telling us that everybody in Africa was dying from AIDS, and everybody in Ethiopia had big old stomachs. That's what they were telling us in the media. So, it's not our fault. It's the powers that be.
Well, and in that aspect, I feel like it's time for a Black Hollywood. That way we get to, and this goes to a little bit of what you're just asking about, how can we work together more? It's time for a Black Hollywood in which we get to create our own stories and be in charge of how we're depicted around the world. And so it's just that time.
Yeah. And I think Black is King with Beyonce was dope. I liked it. I liked it. And I felt that the youth needs to see Black people like that, period. No matter where they come. The youth needs to see Black people in a high, uppity, something to look forward to. You know what I mean? Instead of just seeing hood movies. You know, I grew up with the Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood. You know, Friday. That's what our movies were, and they would talk about what was going on in the hood, and especially in the '90s and the early 2000s. All I remember positive was when Brandy did Cinderella.
So you feel like there wasn't enough positive representations of African Americans growing up in the movies and film?
No. I mean, we had the Cosby Show. That was positive. But as far as like fantasy and fairy tale and being kings, queens and stuff like that, we didn't have enough of that. You know what I mean? We had Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and that was cool. You know, we had Good Times and things like that. But they still had to talk about racism on the show. You know, they still had to talk about what the negative things that we went through. So I feel that the youth needs to see us in a higher light. That's why when Black Panther came out, I was so happy to see all of those kids, you know, screaming Wakanda, and Black and white kids, and Asian kids, and Spanish kids. You know, that was like all of them are looking at Black people in a positive light. You know what I mean? I want to erase that stigma that we're just holding guns and fuck bitches and that kind of stuff. You know, having that fantasy gives them inspiration and motivation to look forward to the future. And that's what I feel is very important for our youth, because, you know, like children are the future. You know what I mean? And then when adults watch it too, it makes them feel good. So, you know, we done been through it. So, you know, that's how that is. So you're a movement therapist, and I know you consider yourself a medicine woman. How does your work empower women, Black women, and women of color?
Well, the first thing is that just have to acknowledge that Black women, period, have just been through a lot. And a lot of times we don't want to say what it is, but I think I mentioned earlier that a lot of us are dealing with trauma or PTSD. And so because of that, what I've learned through my experiences, through my traumatic experience, I've disconnected from my body as a way to protect myself from not having to sit and deal with the pain and emotions. And so the same way for me, dance has allowed me to reconnect with my body, to have that, to begin that healing process. And I feel like that is what my main mission, you know, in terms of working with women, is having them reconnect with their bodies, to fall in love with their bodies again, to actually understand where they're holding their pain, their trauma, those feelings that they don't want to deal with, and how to make their body a safe space again. And the easiest way to do that. Because you always feel, for the most part, I'm gonna say always, but for the most part, we always feel good we dance, you know. So using dance as a way to reconnect, to use your body as a healing tool, and to create it as a safe space. And then from there, just aligning spiritually, mentally, emotionally through dance. And that is how I use it as a tool for healing for women.
Awesome. So since we're talking about healing for women, let's talk about that WAP. Now, you know, Cardi and Megan Thee Stallion got this song called WAP, which stands for Wet Ass Pussy. I've been seeing so much like disrespect, especially from women, talking so much smack about this song. And I'm just surprised. I'm like, these are the same women that were bumping to Little Kim, bumping to Foxy, we knowing all the words, shaking their ass during Doodoo Brown and Scar, and when Luke was hot. They old now, and so now like they picking up on, you know, Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. I like the song, but I want to get your opinion on what you think about WAP and the criticism they have been receiving.
That's interesting. I think for me, so my favorite part, honestly, is the visuals. I'm just gonna keep it real. The costumes were amazing, the visuals, the colors. I like the different scenes. However, I think I was looking for something different in terms of content. And the reason for that is I feel that we're now in a time period where we can push the limits a little more. And I don't feel like our pussies has to always be a pleasure space for men. So I would have liked to hear about just fucking like being in love with yourself and your pussy wet because you just in love with you or you just turning yourself on. And I think that's a whole different way.
Okay.
It. And so but I'm all here for it. It's cool. It's cool. But I think that's for me. I was looking for something a little something different,
Yeah.
Yeah, because even some of the lines, I was like, what did she just say? What did she just do? What? But I'm here for the freedom of expression. I'm here for, them being empowered, empowering other women, just being vulgar, saying whatever the fuck is on their mind. Like, I'm here for that. Like I would love for it to just not always have to be about us fucking a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, your pussy could get wet because you just a shit. You know what I'm saying? Or you use your pussy to manifest your dreams and your goals. Like, let's talk about that.
Okay, I like that. So you don't have a problem with them talking about their pussy. It's just being surrounded by revolving around men, like men.
Yeah.
A subject in that conversation. I feel that.
Yeah, and I probably wouldn't have said that a while back, but I have kind of I would say during this pandemic, there's a young lady who reached out to me, and she has a production called not a production, but I like a series called Pussy Church, and in this series, there's been different women who come on. They call themselves pussy specialists, where they talk about just different aspects of the pussy, whether that is talking about when you're in your period, talk about how food affects your period. Talking about having conversations about your vagina that you probably never had with your mom, or no one ever even told you about what it is and how it works. And, just actually putting your pussy on display, like going into the mirror, look at it, see what it looks like, see what your body looks like. And so prior to that, I probably would have thought differently, but my work with them over the last couple of weeks have allowed me to see that, like, yo, I put like it's so much more than just for sex. It's so much more. And I had never really looked at my vagina outside of that as, it was for, I always thought, I think growing up as a young girl, that like, oh, my pussy is to please somebody else. I never knew, no one ever talked to me. No one ever told me that, no, this is for you. Like, there's power in it outside of sex and having a baby. I had no clue. No one ever had those discussions with me.
Right.
So because of this work that I've been doing with these women, now my mind is starting to open up to like, oh, do you know you can use orgasms to help manifest your dreams and goals? Like, never heard that before.
Oh yeah, you say what you want when you about to, bust a nut.
Had no clue. No one ever told me this. Had no clue. So now, because of like these conversations that I'm having with these women, I'm like, yeah, like let's talk about that. Like, what I'm saying? Let's have different conversation other than like, our pussy make men feel good, or we use our pussy to get what we want. Like, yeah, we can do it to get what we want, but we can also do that without using the man to get what we want. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that's the space that I would have liked them to go in, just because they are in a position to do that. They are in a position to change those mentalities. And so that's what I would have liked to hear, but I'm all for it,
I think, what are they, 24, 25? Like, they're still young. You know what I mean? And like, we don't have to say how old we are, but I just know that when I was younger, you know what I mean? I was always, conscious of my poom poom and all of that. But it wasn't until I got older and more mature, and then, started to go through different things with my poom poom and learn about different things where I learned about the manifestation. They probably don't know that yet. You know what I mean? Right. I feel like these young rappers, young female rappers, they really, I mean, our generation and the generation before us kind of sets, the set. So I really feel like they're really like kind of copying what we was doing and their own ratchetness on top of it. And so that's why I can't even be like too much like I want y'all to talk about something else when I'm like, but these girls are like 25, 26. They're at that age where they're like starting to learn more. Now, when you get a little older, like a Remy Ma or something like that, I would hear something like from her, or even a little Kim or a Trina, the ones who already been there, did that. The City Girls and the Cardi B's and the Megan Thee Stallion, they just, they talking to them young girls. Them young girls about the hot girl summer, and I mean, you know, we had our shine. We had our time when niggas ain't well hold.
It's true. It's true.
You know what I mean? We had our moments. So like they have to have their moments so they can be able to cross over and understand that. And if they're in that position, they can do that. And I think Cardi does it in her own way, but in her own, you know, ratchet way. But I would like to see a Trina or a Kim or a Missy, you know, or a Mary, you know, all of them talk about, look, y'all, this is what you can do with your vet. You can still say you got the wet ass pussy, but let's manifest this money by saying what you want when you bust a nut. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like that's what Trina, I think that's their job to like school them on that. Because the Cardi B's and the Megan Thee Stallion, they just want to have fun. And they want
I think I need to go back and listen to it. I don't know. I'm indifferent about the song because for me, they didn't make me feel empowered in the way that like Lil Kim songs made me feel empowered. So I don't know what the difference is, but I actually went back and went to Lil Kim's How Many Licks, and I listened to her song recently. And it's something about when she's talking, I'm like, now this shit makes me feel empowered. When Spice talks, that makes me feel empowered. But it was something about this song that I didn't get that same energy personally.
Yeah, I don't think that I wasn't empowered. But when I went to like my little sisters and like the 21s, they like, you think that got the wet ass? You know, so I'm like, hey, I like the song, you know, I'm gonna shake my ass, but do I feel empowered by the song? No, I don't feel empowered by the song. But when I hear it and I want to be like, talk that shit, bitch, because we was talking about shit, I'm just like, talk that shit, get it out, because you're gonna learn today. But
you're right.
Say what you want. You know what I mean? Like,
I wonder what is the difference from those women to, is it just our age? Is it?
I think what it is, when Kim and all them came out, it was still a wow factor. Like, new. You know what I mean? So like, it's like, dang, she said that. Whoa. Now, like, we already heard all the nasty shit. You know what I mean? Because Trina was nasty.
I know.
That was my favorite, Trina.
My dad would not let me listen to her. I remember the CD, and I think he heard it was X-rated. And I remember it was one verse she said, I'm gonna make him eat it while my period on.
You know, I'm a nasty hoe. Well, a classy hoe, young classy hoe. Yeah.
He was like, turn that off right now. Throw the whole video away.
The dick sucking come quite natural because I'm the baddest bitch. Girl, I was in 10th grade rapping that shit before I went to basketball practice. You know what I mean?
Yes, like she was pushing limits, boy. Yes.
So I think we got the raw factor. We already got the wow, you know, and I just feel like they're trying to like be how we were, how the artists were during our times. They're trying to like do that, but they're never going to be on that level, you know, because we've already heard it, we've already been there, we already done that. So at our age, you know, a lot of people at our age are like, I don't want to hear that shit no more. But you know, the ones who were 23, 22, they didn't have that experience. So they want to bop to that. So I'm like, bop to that shit, because when we was bopping the Trina, my mom was like, I know you ain't listening to what I think you listening to.
And you know what? I also say this, and I don't know if other people feel this way. I think I might have had a different response to it had it came out before all this pandemic stuff. I think I might have had a different experience of it because the pandemic has been so heavy that for me, I guess I'm like, I don't want to hear shit about no pussy right now. Like I guess that's just what it was for me. It just, especially everything we've been through between the George Floyd, between the Black Lives Matter movement. We got into this really like Black Power, real conscious kind of 3-4 months. And then it was like, everything just went back to like La La Land. And I think I was like, my mind wasn't ready. My mind is not ready to go back to La La Land yet, because there's still some things that we need to deal with. And I feel like in some strange way, these things are now becoming a distraction to get away from the fact that we have an election coming up. You know, we're still waiting on Breonna Taylor's situation to be dealt with properly. So all of a sudden, everybody's focus shifted real quick to Cardi B and WAP. And I'm like, I'm like, no, there's still some stuff that we still need to stay focused. And I think this is what the media does a lot, is that they know how to put out distractions from things that we need to focus on. And I felt like we was really making some movement, and we was, for real, it was some movement happening, and then all of a sudden everything just got really fuzzy and like unclear where we are with all of that stuff right now. So I think I would have had a different response to it if it had came out prior, probably February, January, maybe.
Yeah. And one thing I will say about that, after that, because I know like when they do songs, they probably had that song done before the pandemic even happened. But what I feel like is after the video, Cardi did an interview with Joe Biden. And that's what I like. And she was asking him, like, look, this is what we want. We want police to stop killing Black people. We want justice for Breonna Taylor. Like, I really appreciated that she did this WAP, this commercial shit, that she got back to this. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I think I saw too many rappers in our time do that. And so I'm glad that she is giving because I'm not her. I like Cardi. I'm not a big Cardi B fan. I like who she is. I like her story, but she's also young. I'm older, so I just give them. I like Megan Thee Stallion. I like Megan Thee Stallion. But they're young. You know what I'm saying? But when I talk to my little cousins, because they always trying to impress me, girl. My cousins and my sisters, they always trying to impress me with boys and all of this. They said they learned this from me. I'll be like, "Woo, child, damn it, what did I do to these kids?" But I like that they're seeing that they're like that Cardi is even doing that. You know what I mean? Talking to politicians and being like, "Yo, we need to do that." I appreciate her. I appreciate her for that. And then the other thing with Megan Thee Stallion getting shot, and all those people were talking all that negative shit about her, and as a Black person, you know what I mean? I just felt like, okay, they coming at her. She said she got shot, and they making fun of her. Even just with the mess was making fun of her for getting shot. You know what I mean? So when the war came out, I was kind of like, okay, cool. But you're getting some backlash, but you also made your money after you got shot in the foot. You know what I mean? So I kind of was like, was like that. But I agree with you that we need to stay the course. We still need to keep saying Breonna Taylor's name is important. You know what I'm saying? And the youth needs to get out there and vote. And if you're not registered to vote, you should vote. Because if you don't vote, like, we're living in some interesting, scary times. But as artists, we got to keep it creative. We got to be creative with how we inspire. We're creative how we're activists. Creative how we spread the message. You know what I mean? So, because a lot of people got a short attention span. Like,
exactly.
What?
Exactly. Yeah. And we still got work to do. I hope people don't think, the little progress that we made over the last 3 months was enough. No, we got work to do. So.
Oh no. No.
Yeah.
So,
we got work to do.
I know you got your Team Jukeboxx mass band, and I think that's so that you have this band with the whistles and y'all out there, throwing the feathers and the wine in the waist. Like, how are you guys keeping that hype during COVID? How are you able to keep pushing your business while COVID is happening?
I mean, I'm going to keep 100. It's been hard, but what we've been doing to stay connected is each month I've been creating like some type of gathering that we can all meet on Zoom. And so we actually had a Zoom party in June, and it was really fun. Like, I wasn't expecting it to be that exciting, because it's over Zoom and you're like, oh, I can't see each other in person. But we had a great turnout. I had a DJ, and we all just partied in our living room. Everybody had their like glow in the dark situation. They had their flags, and some people had family members over, or they're with their boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the case may have been. So that actually turned out really well. And I was like, this is outside of the pandemic, is something that I would probably do in the future, because, it was a different way to connect. And I think it made it easier for people who probably couldn't leave their house or have kids or whatever. They still were able to connect with us online. And then the next month I had one of my friends from New York who teaches soca. She came in and did a soca Zoom class, so that way they can still keep their training up. So each month I've been trying to find a way to just bring them something different and keep us connected during this time, since we're not able to meet in person. And it's been fun. It's been fun.
Okay. Well, that's good. You got to be creative during this time. We can't depend on the government. So,
Yeah.
You got to be creative. So, it's time for sexy time. Sexy
Okay.
time. So, what's your sign, girl?
I am a Cancer.
Cancer.
My favorite sign. Huh?
Your moon sign and your rising?
Cancer. Cancer.
Oh,
Girl, I'm cancered out. Cancered out.
oh wow. Okay.
So
Okay.
moody, emotional
Well,
all the time.
beauty, water. Woo, so who do you feel you're most compatible with?
I would say Virgos. I love Virgos mainly because I feel they bring balance, especially with my emotional side. They're very logical, and so I think it helps bring balance. And also, they're loyal. Like Cancer, we're loyal. Yeah, so I feel like usually that's the sign that I vibe with the most in terms of friendships, work relationships, romance relationships, all that. So Taurus is a vibe too. I love
Okay.
Taurus.
Taurus is a vibe. Yeah, I've dated a Taurus. I like Virgos. I think they're cool too. As a Scorpio, we share that water sign, you know what I mean? But you guys are a little more bootier than us because you guys keep it a little bit inside. Like y'all just be having this face, but we be in y'all moods. So
we're just in tune. We're very in tune with, sometimes too much in tune with everything that's happening around us. So I think the biggest challenge I learned as a Cancer is having to decide, is these my emotions or am I picking up on other people's emotions?
Yeah, you're medium.
I think if you can master that, it takes time. I'm still learning, but I'm also an empath. So I feel like if I enter a space, if I'm not really cognizant and have my chill on, I'll easily take on the energy within the room. So that's just something I had to learn about myself as a Cancer.
Okay. So how important is sex in a relationship to you?
Very important. I think sexual compatibility first. You have to be compatible. And then I would say as I turn 30, I'm a little older than 30, but when I stepped in my 30s, I found myself becoming more in tune with my sexuality in a different way, more comfortable in my own body and wanting to explore things that I probably wouldn't have done in my 20s because I was just like insecure or scared or nervous. So yeah, I would say sex in your 30s is great.
Great, because you just know. You just know.
Yeah. And I feel more confident in like asking for what I want. Like in my 20s, I was not confident, or even just saying stop when I was uncomfortable, because sex is not always feel good, or like just not really with it. And I would just kind of like make myself just like sit there and just finish it and be like, oh, I did not want to do that. But now I'm like, oh no, let's cut that out.
You can't have sex for the man's sake. You gotta have sex for you first,
Again.
And then the man or the woman, whoever you with, your partner, you gotta make sure that you feel it good first. Then, and if it don't feel good, if it hurts, stop.
Again, things I had to learn growing up because no one taught me that. You think you just kind of like
right.
Through it. Oh no, now I'm like, oh no, that's not gonna work. Let's cut that right.
Yeah. On that subject, I would like you to give our ladies any kind of, this is poom help, any kind of advice that you can give to women to help them keep a healthy vagina.
Well, one of the things I would say during this quarantine, I changed my eating habits a lot. I used to eat a lot of fast food, a lot of fried foods, just because I was always on the run. And I've noticed I've cut that out, and I've been cooking and just eating more healthy meals. And one thing I would say is my cramps are not as bad as they used to be. I used to have really bad cramps to the point where like I couldn't walk usually the first couple of days of my cycle, or just have to sit in the shower. Some medicines just didn't work, heating pad, all of that. So I noticed me changing my eating habits has changed how heavy my period has been, as well as how much I cramp. So that was a clear sign to let me know, like, you have to be really conscious of what you're intaking, because it does affect your, Poom poom, you already know.
You gotta keep that poom poom healthy, y'all. You heard her. Eat it right. Eat right. See
It's
that
true.
can be working right, smelling right, tasting right, looking right.
All
Make
of that.
all of
Smell
that
has changed, discharge, not as much discharge as I used to. All
right.
of that has changed. Yeah.
Yeah. And make sure ladies get a mirror and look at that twat because you gotta look at her and smile. You gotta smile at the pussy. I've been looking at my poop since I was a little girl, child. I would sit in the mirror with my legs up and with the mirror and be like, let me look at you. Open up the lips, you know what I mean?
And that's a good activity that everyone should do. I won't say activity, but exercises you should do anyway. Because I also realized when I was becoming comfortable looking at myself, I became more comfortable with just being vulnerable in front of my partner. So, I think sometimes women can be really self-conscious. And I just noticed it in dance class when it's time to whine or just do something, sexual. A lot of women are not comfortable with their bodies. So I'm just imagining, like, if you're feeling like this in dance class, what is the experience like for you when you have to be completely, vulnerable in front of someone else? So yeah, I would say use that as a practice to become more comfortable with yourself and improve your sex life and your confidence.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. So we're going to end this on your services. Let our audience know what type of services you provide and if you have anything coming up.
Yes, right now, just due to COVID, we're keeping it simple. But many of the dance classes are still going. They're happening virtually. If you are in Chicago, I'm home right now just due to the pandemic. I was in New York, but decided to come home until things calm down. If you are in Chicago, I do have some services that we'll meet outside or in small numbers at a dance studio. And I'm also starting in September, we'll be offering some emotional support sessions. Meaning if you have, I don't want to call it too therapeutic because my goal is not for you to come in with your crisis. Like, if you have a crisis, that's not what I'm here for. But if you're realizing during this pandemic that you're, slacking in your self-care, or you just kind of need a space to come and realign and get some spiritual tools, I'll be offering those services in September to kind of just help get you realigned and be able to move forward through this pandemic in a healthy way.
All right. I like that. You heard it from the Jukeboxx herself. And you guys can follow her, all her information, their Instagram, her website, YouTube. Make sure you go to Dance Jukeboxx on Instagram. Check out Stacy Letrice Jukeboxx on Facebook, Stacy Letrice on YouTube, and the website is dancejukebox.com. Thank you so much, girl, for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's awesome.
I'm happy to see you. I haven't seen you in a while, but I also wanted to say your show. So if you have not seen any of her burlesque shows, once this is over, we're gonna find a way to get this show on the road and touring. It's an amazing show. It was my first time doing burlesque, and even just finding out how I can incorporate dance hall into that setting, it was an amazing experience. So thank you for always just throwing opportunities my way and just having me and opening doors for me. I really appreciate you.
Oh, yes, girl. I appreciate you too. Keep shining. And, thank you for coming when I call, girl, because, you on the top of the list. I think you're hot. I think you're educated. You're not just dancing the dance. You give these people something. Definitely someone is special and someone that is a dynamic person in the community. I think, you've been shining. I want you to keep shining. I want you to work out there. Keep showing these heifers how it's done. Keep representing, for the Black Americans, the ones that got the talent and the understanding of it.
Definitely.
The Chi-Town, and then you letting these people know how to keep it cool, calm, and collective while keeping that poom poom right.
You already know. I'll be in LA soon, so I'll see you soon.
Oh yeah, girl. You'll see me soon. I'll see you soon.
Alrighty.
All right. Thank you so much for coming through.
Bye.
Bye. All right, y'all. Y'all heard it. Miss Jukeboxx. You guys can follow her. Her information is right here at the bottom. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you got that wop, keep that whopping. I'll be back next week. I see y'all soon. Ciao.